You are listening to the On Purpose Podcast. What's up, everybody? Welcome to this week's edition of the show. It's an honor to have you here, and as always, it's a privilege to show up with you each and every week and to share our ideas with you. And this one was kind of fun to prepare for. It was something that I had stumbled across in some reading and some podcast listening I was doing, so I thought I'd research a little bit and share it with you. This episode is brought to you by Brenda Rice, a dedicated local realtor in Northern Colorado. Having known Brenda for over 20 years, I can vouch for her hard work and dedication while watching her transition from a police career into real estate. Brenda has teamed up with Shelley Borman from Loan Depot to create a tailored first responder program, making home buying in Northern Colorado easier and more affordable than ever. Special incentives are available to our listeners. For more details, reach out to Brenda at Brenda Rice Co. Realtor on Instagram or click the link in our show notes. What we want to talk about today is called the Golden Repair, the Japanese philosophy, art, if you will, of Kintsugi. It's about embracing our flaws and imperfections and how those actually are our strengths. But before we get into that, I want to ask you to do us a huge favor. Please get over and like, subscribe, share, wherever you're finding our content. Help us reach more people around the world. Brighten up their days a little bit, get them smiling, get them moving, maybe get them thinking a little differently, and let's see what our ripple effect is. If we all share what makes us feel good, we have no idea where it'll end, right? Where that ripple is going to end. So please help us continue to grow, and as always, thank you for being here. So let's talk about this week's topic, the philosophy of Kintsugi. So in some research, it looks like it appeared or originated in the late 15th century when a broken tea bowl was sent back to China by a Japanese shogun. Right when it returned to him, it had been repaired with simple staples. And while it was initially received with displeasure and viewed as damaged and thought to be ugly, others found it inspirational that a bowl that was once broken could no longer hold liquids, could be repaired and become whole again, not by hiding its breaks and its scars, but by showing them to the world. What ended up happening was this bowl led to a new form of pottery in Japan, and the intentional breaking of the bowls to repair them with the golden repair, in which they were using gold or silver filaments to repair the pottery so it stood out, so it drew your attention to say, hey, look, all these breaks and cracks are unique and no two bowls will ever be the same, so look at the cracks, understand the value of them. And it created a whole new form of pottery over there. And while the golden repair was initially for things, the philosophy's been developed to teach lessons to our human journey as well, right? The idea that our scars and flaws aren't meant to be hidden, aren't meant to be embarrassed of and pretend they never occurred, but to be seen and understood and to remind us of our inner strength, our ability to overcome, persevere, and to realize that our power and the power of our story is in our struggles, right? It's in our imperfections. It's in those things that truly make us all unique. When we embrace our imperfections, it allows us to move forward a bit lighter, no longer burdened by the weight, but strengthened by the success of our past selves. We're not embarrassed or shamed about who we were, what had happened to us, but we better understand our ability to use that information to predict our future and to move forward, right? The Tactical Harmony Podcast is hosted by Rebecca Fitzsimmons, a former NCIS special agent turned holistic leadership coach and mindset strategist. Drawing on nearly 20 years of experience empowering high-achieving professionals to break barriers and lead with purpose, Rebecca shares tried and true strategies and actionable insights to help you excel in today's fast-paced world. If you're ready to lead with impact and create harmony in the chaos, the Tactical Harmony Podcast is for you. Available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, or check it out at tacticalharmony.com or in the show notes below. And when I was getting ready for this episode, one of the things that I kept coming back to was a story of when Andrea and I first started out on this life of full-time travel, right? When she first pitched me on the idea of selling our house, selling our gym, and just traveling. Many of you may not know how steep of a learning curve I had to help fulfill her dream, right? I had never owned a pickup truck, never pulled trailers, didn't really care for camping, and I damn sure had never done anything with something as fancy as an Airstream. Right? I had no skills in any of the areas that her dream would require me to learn and become adequate at to fulfill this life and this dream she had. So when she agreed to buy both of these, the truck and the Airstream, with a handshake and a hug, and she was full of confidence and hope, I'm not going to lie, I was sick to my stomach with nerves and doubts. Would I be able to learn what it took to fulfill this? Would I be able to do it? To the point where before we even took possession of anything, I took out my phone and had the previous owner literally do every task required to hitch up, operate the camper, unhitch the camper, so I could video them and follow along when we had to do it by ourselves. I didn't even want to take possession of it while it was still in the storage unit because I wasn't sure I could drive it out of how tight all the other campers were. I made them get it to the street before I took possession. Right, so then in our first month, in our first year, just barely getting on the road, sold everything, so we got no safety net. This has to work. We decided we're going to go visit our oldest daughter in Idaho and go see how her life is going, right? And as we first pull into the camping area out in the woods, I misjudged the depth of the rut and how long the Airstream was. As we pull through, we heard the dreaded scraping of the back of the Airstream acting like a shovel that took the top off of this rut. And our rear bumper's damaged, misshaped, full of dirt. And this trailer, our home, that the previous owners had kept immaculate, I damaged visibly on the very first trip we were out. Things snowballed from there and got worse as we almost put a rock up through the middle of the Airstream, misjudging my ability to turn it around. I got us parked in an area I could barely get us out of. Instead of enjoying our time there, I was nervous. I was frantic. I didn't understand what I'd done. Quite honestly, a lot of me wanted to turn it in, walk back, and figure out how to redo everything. Right, but that wasn't the story, right? Walking away from the struggle, walking away from the scar, if you will, wasn't the story. The truth is now, 4 years later, many adventures, including traveling through Baja, Mexico, which is a whole different world. Every time Andrea and I look at our bumper that is unique to us, no other Airstream in the country has the same bumper as us because they didn't scrape the same hill we did. We don't see it as embarrassment. We don't see it as, look at the mistake Jerrod made. I'm not reminded by her of the mistake I made. Instead, we look at it and we go, wow, we're unique. Our Airstream's been lived in. It's been traveled places. It's been pulled by people that didn't know what the hell they were doing. It's part of the story of what our lives become. Right? The dented bumper reminds us of our resilience, of how capable we are of learning new things at this stage in life, of what it means to truly take risk and just go. Let's get rid of the safety nets and just go, and you're going to figure it all out. And we look at it and we think back to how humbly we started and where we are now. You see, embracing our whole story allows us to learn from it. It allows us to share it with other people who aren't sure if they should pursue their dreams. And we could tell them, hey, look, see that dent? That's when we didn't know what the hell we were doing. And we haven't fixed it intentionally in 4 years because it is part of our story. It's part of the golden repair. So when we look at it, we go, that's right. We've done things like this. And when we embrace our whole story, the good, the bad, the things we wouldn't do again, the things we definitely do again, the struggles, that might just be the invitation that allows others to share their story, that allows others to see their cracks, their flaws, their scars, our strengths. Might just be the opportunity to change relationships, to impact the circle of people you're around. Just remind people that their battles too are worth moving forward from, not being hindered by for the rest of their lives. So this week, I ask that we spend our time, our attention, not looking for our days to be perfect or without struggle or challenges, but to be graceful, truthful, and wholesome in how we respond and how we choose to grow from the obstacles we're presented. To be sure that tomorrow we grow from what we went through today. And that today we've grown from what we went through in the past. We're no longer carrying it. It's not a burden. It's nothing to be embarrassed of or ashamed of, but it is part of our strength because we survived it. We learned from it as part of our story. So will we choose to see our strength, the strength of others in their struggles today? Will we uplift from that? Will we help remind others to find the strength in their own story? Because sometimes we all just need a reminder of how great we can become. Other times, scraping the bumper on the hill, we need a reminder of how humble we should remain. But all of our scars, our struggles, our stories are why we're still here today. That's what makes us unique. So I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Please think about the golden repair. How is your life part of the golden repair? And what can we do moving forward to ensure we see our past as a catapult to the future we want to create by embracing it today? Have an awesome week, everybody. And remember, team, life is far too short to live any other way than on purpose. We will see you all again next week.